Are there any new tax laws or accounting issues horse business owners should be aware of as they close out their 2012 books and start the new year for 2013?
Okay, well, first and foremost, the thing we have to remember is that starting with last year's tax returns, there was a question, have you issued 1099s to anyone you were required to issue them to? That was a new question, kind of a surprise question. And if you checked that you had people to issue them to, you had to say, hopefully, that you had issued them or you were going to issue them. The assumption that we make is that IRS will be looking to see if you have deductions like contract labor or casual labor, and if you do not have 1099s, that would be an audit flag. So I put out, it was on the Equestrian Professional site, and I've put it out on some horse sites as well. Now is the time to go out and get W-9 forms from anybody you've paid over $600 to, or who you're going to end up paying over $600 to in 2012. And the reason is you need their Social Security number. And lo and behold, when you start searching on January 29th, because these are supposed to be issued by January 31st, when you start searching for people in late January, you'll find a lot of these people are not around, are hard to get, or don't want to give out their Social Security numbers. So the time to get the numbers is when you have them come in and they're picking up checks and getting paid for what they're doing in November and December. So that would be my first thing to think about at the end of the year, and foremost because it's a hot topic at IRS. The second thing we have to look at as a year closes out, if you have a large profit, if you've done well, you should be doing tax planning with your accountant as far as making capital purchases. That is, now's the time, if you have a big profit and you have a choice, am I going to pay a lot of tax to the government, or am I going to buy things, going to make improvements that can be written off? And it's a good time to have your accountant look at your books and see how you're going to end up the year, and possibly do some planning as far as, do you buy a truck now, or do you buy it next year? Do you, for that matter, almost any major purchase, the timing of it should be thought about now. Likewise, if you have items that you're going to lose on, let's say I have a lot of clients in the racing world. Let's say we bought a horse for $50,000 and he's racing in 10 claimers right now, and nobody's taking the horse. Well, you probably, if you want to take the hit, it might be a good time to to take the loss, write it off, get rid of it off the books, and just take the hit at this point in time, and get it done. So those are just two major areas that you need to think about. Things that, do you have profit? Things that you can spend money on. Things that you should be getting off the books because they're, let's say, non-performing assets. And finally, in terms of, now's the time, if you have an operation with employees, you ought to be looking at your bonus structure to your employees, what you can afford to pay, what makes sense, how you're going to affect them by what you possibly pay. It does look like taxes are going up in 2013 in some way, shape, or form. So you're doing yourself a favor, and perhaps them as well, if you're paying people, in 12 versus 13.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
sure.
Add
Jump in.
things?
Yeah.
For people that are using QuickBooks,
QuickBooks makes it really easy for you to review your 1099. So what you can do is you can go under Vendor and do Print 1099, and it'll come up with a report for you. And each person that's in that report, if you don't see the tax ID number, that gives you a pretty good hint that you've got to go out and find those numbers.